Freeze the entire transaction.
Freeze the entire deal.
Rebecca Sloan stared at the phone in her hand. Mr. Cole, the transfer is scheduled for 9 tomorrow morning. I know. That's $2.4 billion. I know exactly how much it is. Rebecca lowered her voice. Then tell me what changed. Adrian Cole looked down at the red stain covering the front of his suit. 1 glass of wine. Rebecca frowned. Wine? No, Adrian said quietly. The wine only confirmed what I already suspected. Across the city, inside the glittering ballroom of the Belmont Crown, Vantage Meridian CEO Marcus Whitmore was raising a glass to celebrate the largest investment in his company's history. He had no idea the deal was already dead. He had no idea the quiet man he had humiliated less than 5 minutes earlier was the person who controlled every dollar of it. And he certainly had no idea that by tomorrow morning, his company might be fighting for survival. The strangest part was that Adrian Cole had walked into the gala expecting to invest $2.4 billion. He had not walked in expecting revenge. He had walked in looking for something much harder to measure. Character. For months, Colebridge Capital had studied Vantage Meridian from a distance. The technology was impressive. The growth numbers were impressive. The projections were even better. But Adrian had learned something during decades of investing. Numbers could be manipulated. Presentations could be rehearsed. Executives could memorize the right answers. People could not always hide who they were when they thought nobody important was watching. So Adrian had decided to watch. He arrived at the Belmont Crown without an introduction, without an entourage, and without the tailored tuxedo everyone expected from a billionaire. His dark suit was expensive but deliberately ordinary. No watch flashed from his wrist. No assistant announced his name. He simply walked through the ballroom doors and disappeared into the crowd. Within 10 minutes, he found the first problem. A young event employee named Nora Ellis was struggling with 3 crates of equipment near a service entrance. One crate slipped. She caught it against her knee. Another employee shouted, "Nora, what are you doing?" "I'm trying to get these inside. You were supposed to have them upstairs 20 minutes ago. The delivery arrived late." "That's not my problem." Nora looked down. "I'm sorry." Adrian stepped forward and caught the edge of the crate before it fell. "Where does this go?" Nora looked at him. "Excuse me." "The crate." "Oh, ballroom storage." "I'll help." "You don't have to." "I know." He picked it up anyway. They carried it together. When they reached the storage room, Nora exhaled. "I thought I was going to get fired." Adrian set the crate down. "For what?" "For being late." "Were you late?" "The delivery truck was." "Then why are you apologizing?" Nora didn't answer. Adrian looked at her. "That happens here often?" She hesitated. "What?" "People apologizing for things they didn't cause." Nora glanced toward the ballroom. "You should probably ask someone else." "Why?" "Because people here don't like difficult questions." That answer stayed with him. Minutes later, Adrian saw exactly what she meant. A technical display stopped working. A junior technician crouched beside it, trying to restart the system. Marcus Whitmore's operations director stormed over. "You had one job. The system failed." "I don't care. I can fix it." "You'd better." Adrian watched from several feet away. Nobody asked what had caused the failure. Nobody checked whether the equipment had been properly tested. The easiest person to blame had simply been chosen. Then the ballroom doors opened. Marcus Whitmore entered. Conversation stopped. Executives surrounded him instantly. His daughter Elena walked beside him, smiling as photographers turned toward them. Marcus lifted a hand. "Tonight," he announced, "we celebrate the beginning of Vantage Meridian's next era." Applause erupted. Adrian stood at the edge of the room. Marcus continued. "By this time tomorrow, our partnership with Colebridge Capital will have transformed this company forever." More applause. Adrian's expression didn't change. A board member approached Marcus. "Everything is ready for tomorrow's announcement." Marcus smiled. "Good. After this investment, nobody will be able to challenge us." Adrian heard that. He looked toward Rebecca's earlier message on his phone. Final cultural assessment pending. He slipped the phone back into his pocket. Then Nora approached him. You helped me earlier. Adrian nodded. You didn't have to. I know. She smiled faintly. Are you with the company? No. Investor. Something like that. Nora laughed. You're very mysterious. I'm just watching. She looked at him for a moment. Then watch carefully. Before Adrian could ask what she meant, Marcus noticed him. The CEO's eyes narrowed. He leaned toward Elena. Who is that? Elena looked. I don't know. Marcus called over an employee. Who invited him? The employee shrugged. I'm not sure. Marcus walked toward Adrian. Excuse me. Adrian turned. Yes. Are you staff? No. Then where's your invitation? Adrian reached into his pocket and produced it. Marcus barely looked. This area is reserved for executives and invited partners. I understand. Then perhaps you should move. Adrian glanced around. I'm not blocking anyone. Marcus smiled without warmth. That wasn't the question. Elena stepped closer. Dad, just leave him. She looked Adrian up and down. He probably doesn't realize where he is. Adrian looked at her. Perhaps. Marcus folded his arms. You should remember something. What? People who belong in rooms like this don't need to ask whether they belong. Adrian smiled slightly. And people who truly belong usually don't have to remind others. Elena's expression hardened. Marcus stared at him. For a moment, neither man moved. Then Adrian stepped away. Marcus watched him leave. Who does he think he is? Nobody answered. Because nobody knew. The gala continued. But Adrian's attention had shifted. He was no longer looking at the company's profits. He was watching Marcus. He watched him interrupt a waiter. He watched Elena dismiss an assistant. He watched managers straighten whenever Marcus walked past. He watched employees lower their voices whenever executives entered the room. Then he saw something that made him stop. A young server dropped a spoon. It clattered against the floor. The server immediately froze. Marcus turned. What is wrong with you? I'm sorry, sir. You're embarrassing this company. The server bent down. Adrian stepped forward. It's a spoon. Marcus looked at him. What? Adrian pointed toward the floor. It's a spoon. Nobody was injured. Marcus's face tightened. You again. Adrian held his gaze. A company's culture is easiest to see in how its leaders treat people who can't do anything for them. The room around them became quiet. Marcus smiled. You've been watching me all night. Yes. And you think you know something about leadership? No. Adrian paused. I think I've learned something about you. That was enough. Marcus picked up a wineglass from a passing tray. He held Adrian's gaze, then deliberately tipped the red wine across Adrian's suit. Gasps erupted around the ballroom. The stain spread across Adrian's jacket. Nora covered her mouth. Elena stared at her father. Marcus placed the empty glass back on the tray. Now, he said, perhaps you'll remember your place. Adrian looked down at his jacket, then back at Marcus. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't insult him. He simply said, I think you've just shown me exactly where your company stands. He turned and walked away. Nora followed him into the corridor. Mr. Cole. He stopped. Are you okay? Adrian looked at the stain. I've had worse meetings. She didn't understand. Who are you? Adrian took out his phone. You'll know soon. He called Rebecca. Freeze everything. She asked the question that would change Vantage Meridian's future. Everything. Adrian looked back through the ballroom doors. Every dollar. If you want stories where one decision can change everything, subscribe now, because what happened next turned one embarrassing moment into a corporate earthquake. Rebecca immediately began issuing instructions. Legal teams were notified. Banks were contacted. The transfer was frozen. Documents were locked. The announcement scheduled for the following morning was canceled. And inside the ballroom, Marcus still knew nothing. He raised his glass again. To the future of Vantage Meridian. His phone rang. He ignored it. It rang again. He answered. What? His CFO's voice came through. Sir, we have a problem. What problem? The Colebridge transaction. Marcus smiled. What about it? It's been suspended. The smile disappeared. Suspended? Yes. By whom? Silence. Marcus walked away from the guests. Who suspended it? The order came directly from Colebridge's controlling office. That makes no sense. We're trying to understand it. Call them. We already did. And? They won't reverse it. Marcus stared across the ballroom. Get me their investment director. We tried. Then try harder. Another phone rang. Then another. Elena approached. Dad? Marcus looked at her. Something is wrong with the deal. What kind of wrong? I don't know yet. The CFO called again. Marcus answered. His face changed. What? The CFO spoke rapidly. The market is reacting. How? Vantage shares are dropping. Marcus looked toward the ballroom screens. A financial news ticker had appeared. Colebridge Capital suspends Vantage Meridian investment. Guests began reading it. Whispers spread. The room that had been celebrating minutes earlier became a storm of questions. Marcus shouted, "Turn that screen off." Nobody moved. Elena looked at him. Dad, what happened? I said turn it off. An executive rushed over. Sir, the board wants an explanation. Tell them it's temporary. It doesn't appear temporary. Marcus grabbed his arm. Then make it temporary. The executive pulled away. I can't. For the first time that evening, Marcus looked frightened. Then a senior financial officer came running toward him. Sir. What? We found the problem. Marcus turned. Finally. The officer held out a tablet. It's him. Marcus frowned. Who? The officer enlarged a photograph. Adrian Cole. The same man from the ballroom. Marcus stared. The officer whispered, he's the controlling owner of Colebridge Capital. Marcus stopped breathing for a second. Elena took the tablet. Her face went pale. That can't be. The officer nodded. He personally controls the investment committee's final authorization. Marcus looked toward the corridor. The wine. The stained suit. The calm expression. The sentence. You've just shown me exactly where your company stands. Marcus whispered, find him. Security searched the lobby. Nothing. The parking area. Nothing. The private elevators. Nothing. Adrian Cole was gone. But the crisis remained. By midnight, Vantage Meridian stock had fallen sharply. By morning, investors were demanding an emergency board meeting. By noon, employee forums were filling with questions. And by the following afternoon, someone inside the company leaked something far more damaging than the canceled investment. Internal complaints. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. Employees described managers humiliating staff. Workers described being punished for mistakes caused by senior executives. One complaint said, people here learn very quickly that telling the truth is more dangerous than making a mistake. Another said, the executive floor doesn't know what happens downstairs. Marcus denied everything. This is an attack on the company. A board member asked, by whom? Marcus had no answer. Then Elena received a message from a former employee. She opened it expecting another accusation. Instead, she read one sentence. You never knew our names. You only knew our job titles. She read it twice. Then she looked around her father's office. The expensive furniture. The awards. The photographs. The portraits of executives shaking hands. Not one photograph showed the people who actually built the company's products. Elena quietly asked, Dad, how many people work here? Marcus looked annoyed. What does that have to do with anything? How many? I don't know. She stared at him. You don't know. That's not my job. Elena looked down. That answer hurt more than she expected. The emergency board meeting began the next morning. Marcus entered with confidence. You're overreacting. A director slid a folder across the table. We have employee complaints going back 4 years. Every large company has complaints. We have reports of managers threatening employees. People exaggerate. We have resignation data. Marcus leaned forward. You're going to destroy this company because some employees are unhappy? A board member answered. No. You already did that. Marcus froze. The vote was called. One by one, directors voted. Marcus was removed as CEO. He stood slowly. You'll regret this. Nobody answered. He walked out. Elena remained seated. The chairman turned toward her. You're next in line. She looked at him. Not anymore. What do you mean? I don't know how to lead these people. Nobody expected that answer. Elena stood. I thought leadership meant being the person everyone listened to. She looked toward the empty chair where her father had been sitting. I was wrong. 3 days later, Adrian returned. Not to the boardroom. Not to the executive floor. He asked for Nora. She entered the meeting room nervously. Did you need my statement? No. Then why am I here? Adrian pointed to the chair. Sit. She did. He placed a document on the table. Tell me what's wrong with Vantage Meridian. Nora stared at him. You already know. I know what the reports say. What do you want from me? The truth. She looked at him for several seconds. Then she said, people are afraid. Of what? Being noticed. Adrian leaned forward. Explain. If a manager likes you, you're safe. If they don't, you're gone. And what should change? Nora took a breath. Managers should be judged by the people they lead. Adrian said nothing. She continued. People should be allowed to report problems without becoming the problem. She looked directly at him. And leaders should spend time where the work actually happens. Adrian smiled faintly. Why didn't anyone say this before? Nora gave him the answer he had already heard once. Because nobody important ever asked. Adrian leaned back. Then I'm asking now. He opened another folder. I'm creating a leadership fellowship. Nora looked confused. For executives? For anyone. He slid the document toward her. Employees. Managers. Future leaders. Nora read the title. People First Leadership Fellowship. You want me to run this? I want you to help build it. Why me? Because you kept doing your job when nobody important was watching. Nora looked down. Across the city, Elena was making a decision of her own. She approached Adrian. I want to join the fellowship. Adrian looked at her. You don't have to. I know. Your family owns influence. I know. You won't receive special treatment. I don't want it. Adrian studied her. Then start at the beginning. Elena nodded. For the first time, she did. Months passed. Vantage Meridian changed slowly. Not through slogans. Through systems. Employees could report misconduct anonymously. Managers were evaluated by team development. Executives were required to spend time with operational teams. Complaints were reviewed independently. Leadership bonuses were tied partly to employee retention and workplace trust. The changes were uncomfortable. Some managers resigned. Others adapted. Nora became one of the fellowship's leaders. Elena became one of its most committed students. She learned how to listen without preparing a defense. She learned that a junior employee could understand a problem an executive had missed for months. She learned that saying, I don't know, did not make a leader weak. It made room for someone else to contribute. Then, 6 months after the gala, Adrian returned. He did not announce his arrival. He entered through a side door. A manager was helping an employee who had made a costly mistake. The employee looked terrified. I'm sorry. The manager shook his head. Don't apologize yet. Let's figure out what happened. Adrian stopped. Nobody noticed him. The manager opened the system logs. There. The instructions were unclear. The employee looked relieved. The manager said, we'll fix the process. Adrian walked away. That was the moment he had been waiting for. Not an apology. Not a speech. Proof. The investment committee met that evening. Rebecca placed the new report in front of Adrian. Employee turnover is down. He nodded. Leadership complaints? Significantly reduced. Independent audits? Clean. Cultural assessment? Rebecca smiled. Completely different. Adrian looked through the report. Then we go back in. Rebecca raised an eyebrow. Same amount. No. More. Not yet. She laughed. You're still cautious. I've never been cautious with money. Rebecca looked confused. Adrian closed the folder. I've been cautious with people. The new investment was approved. Not because Vantage Meridian had become perfect. Because it had demonstrated that it could change. The next company gathering took place weeks later. Nora stood near the front. Elena spoke with employees without security or executives surrounding her. Then Adrian entered. This time, people recognized him. Some smiled, but Adrian waved them back. Keep working. A young employee carrying drinks approached. His hand slipped. A glass tipped. Liquid splashed onto Adrian's sleeve. The room froze. The employee's face went white. I'm so sorry. Adrian looked at his sleeve. Then at the employee. It's a drink. The employee swallowed. I didn't mean. I know. Adrian smiled. Let's clean it up. The room slowly relaxed. Nora watched from across the room. Elena looked at her. That was the test. Nora nodded. No. Elena smiled. That was the proof. Adrian walked toward them. Nora asked, was that why you came back? Adrian looked around the room. No. Then why? He glanced toward the employee cleaning the spilled drink. Because 6 months ago, someone spilled wine on me and showed me exactly what this company was. He paused. Today, someone spilled a drink on me and showed me what it became. Nora smiled. Adrian continued. Money can tell you whether an investment is profitable. He looked at the employees around them. But people tell you whether it's worth making. Elena lowered her eyes. My father thought power meant making people afraid. Adrian shook his head. Power is what happens when people trust you even when they don't have to. The room grew quiet. Nora looked at the fellowship logo on the wall. People first. Adrian turned toward the employees. I didn't save this company. Nobody spoke. You did. He pointed toward Nora. She asked questions nobody wanted to hear. Then toward Elena. She admitted she had something to learn. Then toward the managers and employees around the room. And all of you decided that changing the culture mattered more than protecting the past. He smiled. That is what I invested in. Months later, Vantage Meridian was profitable again. But its greatest change could not be found on a financial report. New employees were taught the company's leadership principles on their first day. Managers were expected to know the people on their teams. Mistakes were investigated before blame was assigned. And the executive floor no longer felt like a different world. Adrian never became the hero of the company. He didn't want to. Nora became the leader of the fellowship. Elena earned a position based on her own work rather than her surname. And Marcus Whitmore disappeared from the spotlight he had once demanded. But people at Vantage Meridian still remembered the night everything changed. Not because a billionaire had been humiliated. Not because a $2.4 billion deal had vanished. They remembered it because one question had exposed an entire culture. How do you treat someone when you believe they have nothing to offer you? Adrian had walked into the gala with billions of dollars at his disposal. He walked out with nothing but a stained suit and a decision. Yet that decision forced a company to confront itself. Because wealth can purchase influence. Titles can command attention. Numbers can attract investors. But none of those things can manufacture character. And when the lights disappear, the executives leave, and nobody important is watching, character is what remains. Adrian never forgot that. Neither did Nora. Neither did Elena. And neither did the company. Because in the end, the greatest investment wasn't the $2.4 billion that almost changed Vantage Meridian. It was the decision to invest in people who were willing to change themselves. If this story reminded you that real leadership begins with how we treat people who cannot benefit us, subscribe now. There are more stories where power isn't measured by what someone owns, but by what they choose to do with it.